Hey guys, welcome to Old Coin Vault. Did you know that a tiny Lincoln wheat penny once sold for more than $1.7 million at auction, turning what looked like ordinary pocket change into a life-changing fortune? That real historical sale proves one shocking truth. Sometimes the coin people ignore the fastest is the one collectors are willing to pay extraordinary money to own. And the 1937D and 1941 no-mint mark wheat pennies have their own hidden secrets that make them worth a closer look. First, UPHE 1937D wheat penny looks ordinary at first glance, a small copper coin that millions of Americans might overlook in a forgotten jar or an old dresser drawer. Yet its story begins inside the Denver Mint during one of the most challenging economic decades in American history, when every cent represented real buying power for families struggling through the final years of the Great Depression. Bearing Abraham Lincoln's familiar portrait on the obverse and the iconic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent on the reverse, the tiny D mint mark beneath the date quietly reveals its birthplace, distinguishing it from coins struck in Philadelphia or San Francisco. Although millions were produced, collectors understand that survival is very different from production, because decades of circulation, pocket wear, cleaning, corrosion, and accidental damage have dramatically reduced the number of attractive original examples still existing today, turning an everyday object into a fascinating historical survivor. Look closely at a genuine 1937D wheat penny, and subtle details begin telling a much larger story. The warm reddish copper tone seen on untouched pieces can gradually transform into chocolate brown through decades of oxidation, while the crisp lines in Lincoln's hair, the folds of his jacket, and the wheat stalks on the reverse become clues to how much circulation the coin experienced. The Denver Mint was known for producing strong strikes on many issues, but variations occurred because dies wore out, machinery shifted slightly, and production pressures never disappeared. To an untrained eye, two 1937D cents may appear identical, yet experienced collectors can spend hours comparing the sharpness of lettering, the spacing around the rim, and the tiny characteristics that separate a common example from one that deserves much closer examination. The intrigue grows when discussions turn toward minting varieties and possible errors, because even a seemingly ordinary wheat penny can hide characteristics that transform collector interest overnight. Slight die shifts may create the appearance of doubled letters, while unusual strike alignment can leave parts of the design closer to the rim than expected. Die cracks, die chips, and off-center strikes add further layers of fascination, reminding collectors that coin production is a mechanical process where imperfections sometimes escape into circulation. Many stories circulate about people discovering an unusual penny inside inherited collections, old coffee cans, or forgotten piggy banks, only to learn that experts wanted to inspect it more carefully because tiny differences invisible to casual observers can significantly affect desirability. The possibility fuels countless treasure-hunting dreams because value often depends on a combination of rarity, condition, originality, and collector demand rather than age alone. An illustrative example with a minor but interesting variation might attract attention in the range of about $2,500 to $3,500, while another more notable specimen could be discussed around $5,000 if preserved in exceptional high grade. An unusual mint anomaly might inspire conversations around $6,000, and a rare collector-focused example possessing especially desirable characteristics could reach approximately $7,500 in a strong market. These figures are illustrative scenarios rather than guarantees, and every coin must be evaluated individually, but they demonstrate why knowledgeable collectors refuse to dismiss old pennies without careful study. The excitement climbs even higher when stories involve extraordinary preservation or remarkable characteristics that separate one coin from thousands of others. A 1937D wheat penny with exceptionally original surfaces, uncommon visual appeal, or a highly desirable combination of features might be discussed around $8,000, while an unusual discovery supported by strong collector demand could reach approximately $8,500 in an illustrative scenario. In especially extraordinary or historically significant circumstances involving highly desirable characteristics and professional verification, discussions may even approach $9,000. Such outcomes are uncommon and never guaranteed, yet the possibility captures imaginations because the difference between an ordinary cent and a remarkable collectible can depend on details measured in fractions of a millimeter. Imagine opening an old family toolbox or sorting through a grandparent's coin jar after decades of neglect and spotting a worn copper cent carrying that tiny D beneath the date. At first, it seems insignificant, worth only 1 cent in everyday commerce, but curiosity leads to research, magnification, and eventually expert evaluation. The emotional impact of learning that an overlooked coin could represent thousands of dollars resembles discovering unexpected savings for a home down payment, receiving a sudden financial windfall, or stumbling upon a once-in-a-lifetime historical artifact hidden in plain sight. Even when the final value proves modest, the journey transforms an ordinary object into a personal connection with American history and the people who once carried it through daily life. Responsible examination is essential because wishful thinking should never replace careful analysis. Check the coin's weight against official specifications using an accurate scale. Observe whether the metal color appears natural rather than artificially altered. Inspect strike alignment to see whether the design sits correctly within the rim, and study the rim shape itself for unusual characteristics or evidence of damage. Under magnification, examine letters and numbers for genuine doubling rather than simple wear or machine effects, and compare suspicious features with reliable reference materials. Cleaning, polishing, or attempting repairs can permanently reduce collector appeal, making professional authentication and grading the safest path whenever a coin appears unusual or potentially valuable. The greatest mystery surrounding the 1937 D-Wheat penny is not simply how many were struck, but how many remarkable examples remain undiscovered inside forgotten albums, dusty attics, inherited collections, abandoned cash drawers, or ordinary jars sitting on kitchen shelves across America. Every handful of old change carries the possibility of revealing a coin whose hidden characteristics rewrite expectations and spark excitement among collectors who understand the importance of patience and careful observation. Most searches end with ordinary finds, yet history repeatedly proves that extraordinary treasures can hide among everyday objects, and somewhere another astonishing coin may already be waiting to surprise its next owner, setting the stage for the next shocking discovery that few people would ever expect. Next up, the 1941 wheat penny with no mint mark is the kind of coin that countless Americans have handled without a second thought, slipping through cash registers, resting in forgotten coffee cans, or disappearing into old dresser drawers. Yet behind its ordinary appearance lies an extraordinary story shaped by a nation preparing for historic change. Produced at the Philadelphia Mint, where coins of this type carried no mint mark, this small copper cent emerged during a period when the United States was still recovering economically while the world moved steadily toward global conflict. Millions entered circulation, making it seem impossible that one could ever become special. But history has a way of transforming everyday objects into fascinating relics that quietly survive long after the people who first spent them are gone. Unlike later wartime issues that attract attention because of dramatic metal changes, the 1941 no mint mark wheat penny represents the final moments of a more familiar era in American coinage, preserving the classic design that had become part of daily life across the country. Abraham Lincoln's portrait dominates the obverse with a calm expression, while the reverse displays the famous wheat ears surrounding the denomination, a design that symbolized growth and prosperity during uncertain times. Because these coins circulated heavily for decades, many lost their sharp details through constant handling, making original surfaces, vibrant luster, and crisp design elements increasingly difficult to find today, especially among examples that escaped cleaning or environmental damage. Collectors often become fascinated by this date because ordinary production does not guarantee ordinary survivors, and subtle differences can transform an overlooked coin into an object worthy of serious examination. Dies gradually wore down during long production runs, tiny mechanical shifts occurred inside minting equipment, and occasional striking irregularities slipped into circulation before anyone noticed. Some pieces reveal stronger design details than others, while certain examples display unusual spacing, unexpected die characteristics, or lettering that invites closer inspection under magnification. These variations create suspense because two coins with the same date may appear identical from across a table, yet tell completely different stories once studied carefully. The visual appeal of a genuine 1941 no-mintmark wheat penny extends far beyond its age, because experienced collectors examine countless tiny details that casual observers rarely notice. Original copper color may range from brilliant red to rich brown depending on decades of natural tunning, while the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, the definition of his coat, and the clarity of the wheat stalks all provide clues about preservation and striking quality. The rim itself can reveal valuable information, with certain examples showing broader expansion or unusual formation that raises questions about the minting process, encouraging specialists to compare them against documented varieties and authenticated specimens. Only after the mystery surrounding the coin has grown does the conversation naturally shift toward value, because collector markets reward rarity, originality, and demand rather than age alone. Recorded auction or private sale outcomes have demonstrated that notable examples possessing desirable characteristics have reached figures ranging from approximately $5,000 to $7,000 under favorable circumstances, while particularly strong mint-state coins have realized around $8,200. These numbers should never be viewed as guarantees for every 1941 no-mintmark cent, since each coin must stand on its own merits and market conditions constantly evolve. But they illustrate why knowledgeable collectors refuse to dismiss old pennies simply because they seem common. The excitement becomes even greater when genuine minting mistakes enter the picture, because error coins occupy a fascinating corner of the collecting world where tiny production anomalies can dramatically increase attention. Recorded auction or private sale results for higher-grade error examples have approached around $8,000 in some situations. Unusual mistakes have achieved approximately $8,700, and extreme errors have reached about $9,000 when authenticated and highly sought after. In exceptionally rare cases involving remarkable minting anomalies or unique combinations of characteristics, documented sales have climbed to approximately $35,000, while extraordinary or one-of-a-kind discoveries have inspired outcomes approaching $10,000 in certain private transactions or specialized auctions, always depending on the specific coin and never serving as a promise for another example. Stories like these fuel dreams because they remind people of opportunities that almost slipped away forever, from an inherited jar of loose change nearly donated to charity to a dusty cigar box discovered during a house cleanup that contained coins ignored for generations. Imagine realizing that something once exchanged for a loaf of bread or forgotten beneath a car seat might now represent thousands of dollars, creating a life-changing surprise or covering an unexpected financial need simply because someone paused long enough to look closely. Countless collectors can recall moments when they passed over an ordinary-looking penny only to later discover that another example with subtle differences attracted extraordinary interest, making missed opportunities part of the enduring legend surrounding classic American coinage. Careful examination should always come before excitement, because responsible collecting depends on evidence rather than assumption, and every potentially valuable coin deserves thoughtful evaluation instead of impulsive selling. Check the coin's weight against official standards using a precise scale. Observe whether the metal color appears natural and consistent. Inspect strike alignment to see whether the design sits properly within the borders. Study the rim for unusual expansion or irregular formation, and examine the lettering for genuine, doubling rather than ordinary wear or damage caused after leaving the mint. Professional authentication and grading remain the most reliable path for determining significance, protecting both the coin and its owner from costly mistakes, while ensuring that a seemingly ordinary 1941 wheat penny with no mint mark receives the careful attention its hidden story may deserve.